I see people every day fail their road test because they had poor observation skills and they failed to see a vehicle approaching them from behind. When you're pulling out of a parking spot, you do not have the right of way. The vehicle's already on a road due. And if you do anything that causes those vehicles to either have to stop for you, slow down for you, or to suddenly have to go around you, then technically you failed to yield the right of way. And that could be, and most likely will be, an automatic fail of your road test. So what I'm about to demonstrate to you are some things that you could do to reduce the chances of something like that happening. Okay, first thing, when you first get in the vehicle for your road test, what you should do is fix your chair, fix your seatbelt, and fix your mirrors. And then you just wait. You wait for the examiner to finish doing whatever they're doing. When they are finished doing whatever they're doing, which is usually just checking you into their system, they will say something like, when you're ready, you can start the test. That is your cue to now start the vehicle. Your vehicle should be off, your radio should be off. All right? All right, so at that point now, you put your foot on the brake, you start the engine, and then you go through your series of steps. Now, all of these things you should do before you even start to bother checking for traffic. Put your foot on the brake, make sure your car is in park, start your engine, and then you're going to check to make sure you have enough space in front of you to pull out. All right? If you do not, the next thing you're going to do is put the car in reverse. And when you reverse, you're reversing to make enough space for you to easily pull out of the parking spot. All right, so you reverse back, and when you do reverse back, make sure you are looking over your shoulder like this. Do not just try to turn your head like this. If you just try to turn your head like this, you can't really turn around enough to see what you need to see. All right, so turn your whole body. Turn your body, make your shoulder face like this, and look back over your shoulder like that. And consequently, this is the only time that you are allowed to have one hand on the wheel during the road test. And that is when you're reversing. All right, any other time you have to have both hands on the wheel. All right, so anyway, make sure you have enough space. Reverse back if you have to. In any case, once you have determined that you have enough space, put the car in drive, put on your signal, turn your steering wheel all the way to the left. You do all of those things first before you even bother worrying about, is there any traffic coming? That way, all you have to do when you see that it is clear is take your foot off the brake and roll out of the spot. And once I've done all of those things, I don't have to worry about hitting that car because I already made sure I had enough space. I turned the wheel all the way to the left. So if I have enough space and I turn my wheel all the way to the left, I shouldn't have to worry about hitting that car. All right? So as you're coming out of the space, all you should have to worry about is checking for traffic and making sure that it's clear. You don't want to have to worry yourself about getting too close to this car. All right, so, and that's one of the mistakes, that's some of the mistakes that I see people make when they're taking their road test and they're pulling out at the beginning of the road test, is that when they see that it's clear, they still have to involve themselves with some other thing that distracts them from checking for traffic. So they might see that it's clear and then they have to still put the car in drive. They might see that it's clear and then they might still have to turn the steering wheel to the left. They might see that it's clear and they might still have to put on their signal. Do all of that stuff first before you're ready to pull out. All right, so boom, everything is done already. So now, again, shift your body, not just your head, shift your body around so you can see better over your shoulder. All right, now a common complaint that people have is that when they look over their shoulder, they cannot see anything. All right, for a lot of you, that is somewhat the case. All right, what's happening there is when you look over your shoulder, you're going to be seeing your seat, you're going to be seeing this window partition, you're going to be seeing the back seat, you know, almost everything else except for the road. All right, so ideally what I would do is I usually move my head around like this so I could get a good enough angle where I can see out the back window. All right, if that is not working, still look over your shoulder. Why? Because looking over your shoulder, at least when you look out this window here, you can see something to your far left. In your mirror, you cannot see things that are to your far left. But what you will be able to see is traffic further down the road than when you look over your shoulder, at least in this position. So before you start to come out of the spot, your mirror will actually show you more of the road or more of what's behind you coming down that road or up that road behind you than when you look over your shoulder. Still do both. All right, so now once you do that, you check your mirrors and over your shoulder several times. And the reason why you want to check several times is that quite often I see people check their mirror, look over their shoulder, they do it only one time, and as soon as they turn their head, something is coming up the block. And if they never check again to see if it's still clear, they fail to yield the right of way. All right, so most people I see taking a road test, that's what they do. They check their mirror, they check over their shoulder, but they only do it one time. And it's not usually at the correct time. It's usually way before they take their foot off the brake. And by way before, that could be just a few seconds, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. It only takes a half of a second for a car to be coming up the street. All right, and sometimes the vehicle that messes the people up is not a vehicle that's coming up the street. It's the guy right behind you taking his road test too. All right, so be careful of all of that to avoid a situation where you fail to yield the right of way to traffic when you're pulling out. Try to check your mirrors and look over your shoulders several times. So I'm going to show you how I do it, or how I would do it if I was taking my road test. All right, so again, everything is done. I only have to worry about pulling out of the spot and checking for traffic. So I'm going to check my mirror. I'm going to look over my shoulder like that. Check my mirror again. And while you're checking your mirror, you should be somewhere either in your direct line of sight or your peripheral vision. While you're checking the mirror, you should be able to see around you and make sure no crazy person is about to walk in front of your car, because I've seen that happen too. All right, so you're checking for pedestrians, you're checking your mirror, you're looking over your shoulder, and several times, and now I'm ready to come out. So once I've decided that it looks pretty clear, I'm gonna check my mirror again, and I'm about to, right now I'm taking my foot off the brake to move out of the spot. So, and now the car's not moving, it's not rolling, which can be a problem for some people. So if that does happen, what you want to do is check again before you press the gas, before you take it off the brake, or before you press the gas, check again to make sure that it's still clear. It might not be. All right, for example, there's a car coming up the block now. I'm going to wait. All right, so now I waited for that vehicle. Now it is clear again. I'm going to take my foot off the brake. If the car doesn't move, while I'm looking in the mirror like this, and I'm gonna check over my shoulder again, I'm gonna check my mirror, I'm gonna give it a little bit of gas. As I give it gas, I look over my shoulder. And I come out maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 feet, maybe half of my vehicle. I lean half of my vehicle out of the spot, and then I might stop the car. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I come out about halfway, I stop the car, and then I look again. Now, while my car's on an angle, and I look back, I can actually see out this back window, and I can see all the way down the block. And when I look in my mirror, guess what I'm seeing? The parked car behind me. All right, and that's what a lot of people don't realize when they're pulling out. And that's another mistake that I see people make when they're pulling out, is that as they pull out of the spot, they do check their mirror and look over their shoulder before they pull out of the spot. But once they start coming out of the spot, they don't look over their shoulder again, and they just utilize their mirror. What happens there is that as your car comes out on an angle, guess what else is on an angle too? Your mirror. So your mirror now the more you come out of the spot, it's showing you less of what's further down the road, and it's showing you more of the parked cars that are behind you. So people in that situation that I see check their mirror as they're coming out, as they're rolling out of the spot, I know that they cannot see a vehicle that's coming up the street. Why? Because they're only checking their mirror. Now, if that same person was to look over their shoulder, they would clearly see that there's a vehicle coming up the road. All right? So as you're coming out, continue checking like this until you get to this point right here. Now, if you do see a vehicle coming up the road, don't worry that you're halfway out of the spot like this. Just stop and let that car go. All right? Stop, and then you start checking again, look again, make sure that it's clear, and then I could give it some gas and pull out of the spot. And that's how you do it, all right? And that's how you avoid failing to yield the right of way at the beginning of the road test before you even start your road test. Good luck. Okay, a common complaint of most people, or a lot of people, in terms of checking their mirror and checking their blind spot, is that most people will say that they can't see anything when they look over their shoulder and that they can see better in the mirror. That is partially true. When you're in a parking spot, before you started to move out of the spot, that is true. Looking in the mirror will give you a better view of traffic coming down the road, up the road behind you, than looking over your shoulder. All right, as you see in the mirror here. When I look over my shoulder in this position, I can only see part of the block, not even anywhere near the full block. And when I turn around more, I'm seeing the parked vehicles behind me. All right, so that's why a lot of people say that they can't see anything when they look over their shoulder. All right, and you have the window partition blocking a good portion of your view of the road. All right, so that is true in this situation. But what happens there is, as you move out of the spot, looking in your mirror becomes worse than looking over your shoulder. As you pull out of the spot, your car will go on an angle, and so will your mirror. As your mirror angles, it will show you less and less of the road and more of the parked vehicles behind you. Okay, now the problem that a lot of people encounter when they're moving out of the parking spot is that they rely on the mirror only, and they don't realize that as they move out of the spot, what they see in their mirror changes. So as you come out of the spot, the more you come out of the spot, the less you're seeing of what's down the road, and the more you're seeing of the parked cars behind you. All right, so somebody who only looks in their mirror is not really seeing the full picture of the road the more they come out of the spot. And the more you come out of the spot, the more you actually want to look over your shoulder. All right, so what you want to do is, now if you lean to the right, then you may be able to see a little bit better in the mirror. But instead of leaning, what you should do is turn around and look over your shoulder. And now, when you look out your back window, you can see all the way down the road. And what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to see what's coming down the road with your own eyes as opposed to using the mirror. Do both, but make sure as you're coming out of the spot, you continue to check your mirror and over your shoulder. And the more you come out of the spot, the more that looking over your shoulder becomes better than looking in the mirror. Oh, and I almost forgot, if you need driving lessons or a call for the road test or just a second opinion on your driving skills, hit me up. Your number is 347-699-6381, 347-699-6381. If you can't get me on the phone, I'm probably doing driving lessons, so just text me and I'll hit you right back. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. Licensed by the DMV for a long time, and I'm pretty much expert at this whole thing. All right, good luck.